I'm telling you, it had to be aliens.
I'm telling you, dude, it was something simple like an avalanche or something.
Oh, no, come on. Maybe UFO?
Yetis?
Oh, come on, it was the Soviet military.
Good point.
Today on the show.
Good morning, Scallywags! Today we continue our Unsolved Mysteries.
God, I still wish we could do a Robert Stack voice.
Yeah, right. Tonight,
Unsolved Mysteries.
And today we are talking about the Dyatlov Pass. This is from back in 1959.
Right? Mm-hmm.
A group of hikers that went off into the mountains, never to be seen alive again. But what killed them? Some interesting things as far as the bodies were found. They were pretty much still wearing their pajamas, or at least whatever they went to bed wearing.
Some of them were in pajamas.
Some of them were naked. And one had her tongue missing, and her eyes, and part of her lips and face, and some had internal crushing with no external injuries. So what killed them? We don't know.
We don't know, and that's why it's an unsolved mystery.
Exactly, and that's why we're talking about it.
Right.
So, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about that for a second. But even better, we've got breaking news.
Oh, we do, but we'll get to that. We'll get to
first.
that, yes. So, yes, this happened back in 1959. Let's see, when on February 12th, 9 skiers, this was a group of 10 experienced hikers. Initially, one of them kind of backed out at the last minute. So 9 of them went off into the mountains, and on February 12th, they failed to report in, and were later found
dead.
So let's dive in.
Rescue operations were sent out to Dyatlov Pass on February 26th of the same year, and the group tents were eventually found on the slopes of the Mountain of Dead in Mount Kalat-Sikal on February 26th. I probably butchered that Russian name, but you know what?
Meaning Mountain of the Dead.
Mountain of the Dead.
In Mansai.
In Mansai, yeah. The investigators of the incident later determined that the tent had been cut from the inside with a sharp object. The truckers also left all their belongings in the tent while apparently trying to urgently flee the campsite. That tells me they were scared of something. The bodies of 5 group members were subsequently found down by the hill, some 1.5 kilometers from their camp. And some of them were wearing only their underwear and socks and even barefoot. We'll get to that theory, too, in a little bit.
See, the bodies all showed signs of struggle, such as fractured skulls, broken ribs. One woman, as we mentioned, was missing her tongue, her eyes, and part of her lips and face. The search for the rest of the group took more than 2 months, but they were all eventually found dead further in the woods along in the mountainside. Basically, it to this day, it remains one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. The Soviet criminal investigation in 1959 failed to establish the cause of death. The final report stated that only that the people had been killed by an unknown compelling force.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they actually wrote down that they died of hypothermia, even though most people don't believe that is accurate.
Yeah, a lot of people believe that they actually were already dead before their bodies started to.
And there's a lot of theories.
We're going to get to that one. But speaking of modern stuff, a tourist has also disappeared just recently. This year. A tourist was expected to return from his hiking trip on this February, but he never did. A group of local volunteers launched a rescue mission in an attempt to find the missing man, but so far, as of the 27th of this month, February, they did not find him. They did not find him.
So he leaves off. The last known message was received on February 17th, where he said that everything was going well. He was expected to check in or to return from his trip on the 27th of February. Now, the original group was they were supposed to check in on the 26th of February of 1959, right? Okay, 1959, February 26th. This guy was supposed to return on February 27th of 2018, which is exactly 59 years after the original.
Yeah, that's kind of...
1959, 59 years later.
Yep, that's kind of creepy. That's kind of a little weird.
And now this guy goes missing.
He failed to register with the local search and rescue services before he set out, which is a big no-no, especially if you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Adding that the route of his trip is unknown, the search and rescue team became aware of his missing. He was missing only after his relatives sought assistance. So, I mean, it's kind of odd that his last written thing was on the 17th and everything was going well. Well, what happened in those next 10 days?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Which it's a perfect time to kind of dive into some of the theories.
Let's dive into those theories.
So, again, let's kind of recap. You got 10 people set off on this trek. They make it part of the way. One guy decides he's not feeling well, decides he's not going to go on, so they set up camp for the night. This is the last time that they will set up camp together, where they took this photograph, and it was the last time that they would see each other. So the 9 of them then go on up the mountain. They disappear. Contact is lost with them. Then a couple weeks later, they discover the first set of bodies, the second set of bodies shortly thereafter, until all 9 of them are found. Now, all 9 of them showed signs of hypothermia. Again, they cut their way out of the tent. So, wearing whatever it was they were wearing when they went to bed. So, whether it be underwear and socks, whether it be no shoes or socks.
Which I can't. I mean, Russians are hardy people, but I really can't see them doing that. You're talking the temperatures on that date were where is it here? It was down to negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit, guys. That's frigid. Yeah. You're wearing coats and socks and hats to bed.
You at least got something on your feet. Mm-hmm. So something scared these guys pretty good. So they cut their way out of the tent. So what? 5 of them made it pretty not far at all. 4 found right there close by the campsite. The rest of them were found far away. You've got broken skulls. You've got fractured ribs, like they had been crushed. But the outside of the body didn't show any signs of trauma.
Yeah.
So, like a great amount of pressure. I think they actually compared it to being in a car accident, like that kind of pressure being put on these bodies. So, the simplest of all of these would be an avalanche. Could have buried the tent. That would explain why they had to cut their way out, why they had to leave in such urgency, why they were all crushed. So let's see. Covered the entrance to the tent, and that's why they cut their way out. They were scared. It was imminent. Better to have potentially repairable still in the tent, or slit in the tent, rather than risk being buried alive. They were poorly clothed because they had been sleeping. Ran to safety of the nearby woods, where trees would slow the oncoming snow. In the darkness of night, they got separated. So the group made a fire, hence one of them that had burned hands. While they also, that's one thing we failed to mention, is that all of the bodies showed signs of radiation.
Yeah. Now,
it just gets deeper and deeper here.
It just keeps getting stranger and stranger. Now, radiation itself isn't a marked thing, because there's radiation everywhere, but the fact that it was just fairly local, heavily localized around their campsite, that's where you start to run into some iffy things.
Let's see. They say that it's possible that the woman's tongue, who had lost her tongue and her eyes and things, that it's possible that it was scavengers that had removed them from the body after she was dead. Now, evidence that contradicts the avalanche theory. The location of the incident did not have any obvious signs of an avalanche having taken place. An avalanche would have left certain patterns of debris distributed over a wide area. The bodies were found within 10 days of the event, so had they been covered under even a very shallow layer of snow, there would have been signs of that. Over 100 expeditions to the region were held since the incident. None of them have ever reported conditions that might have created an avalanche. Analysis of the terrain, the slope, the incline indicates that even if there could have been a very specific avalanche that circumvents the other criticisms, its trajectory would have been bypassed by the tent, and it had collapsed laterally but not horizontally. Also, Dyatlov was an experienced skier. Now, the Dyatlov Pass was actually named after one of the victims there, by the way. And he was an experienced skier, and was studying his master's certificate in ski instruction on the mountain hiking. Neither of the 2 men, that being him or Alexander Zolotaryov.
Maybe.
Lots of Russian names. So,
yeah, Russian names.
Would have been likely to camp anywhere where there was a path of a potential avalanche.
Yeah.
So lots of things that actually says that there was no avalanche, even though that would be the easiest possible
Sounds
answer.
like somebody's trying to pass something off.
Right.
Try to keep it covered up.
That's just the first of
That's the first of the things. Second of is infrasound. Donnie Elkler wrote a book in 2013 called The Dead Mountain that Holitachi Mountain created a Karman vortex street which can produce infrasound capable of inducing panic in humans. Basically, it's a high pitched frequency that we really can't hear like you're hearing us now, but we can feel, and we can feel it in the back of our heads. Yeah. According to Exler's theory, the infrasound generated by the wind as it passed over the top of the mountain was responsible for causing physical discomfort and mental distress in the hikers. He also claims that because of their panic, the hikers were driven to leave their tent by whatever means necessary and to flee down the slopes. By the time they were further down the hill, they would have been out of the range of the sound, of the infrasound, and would have regained their composure, but by then it was too late. The darkness would have returned, too dark to return to shelter. Traumatic injuries would have held on because they stumbled over ledges and ravines and fallen trees and everything. So that's a theory of infrasound, and we know infrasound doesn't work.
When it comes to that, you would think that while even if that was the case, that it wouldn't have affected all 9 people in the same way. I mean,
it'd be hard to. Yeah, everyone's.
I mean, the chances of that are, impossible. No. Likely, also no. But other than that, we've got now. Why there was actually when it comes to the hypothermia, for example, people would say, well, if they were freezing to death, why would they start taking their clothes off? Well, that's actually something called paradoxical undressing. It's actually a pretty common thing when it comes to hypothermia. It actually, your brain starts playing tricks on you and makes you think that you're actually burning. So they start removing clothing. There was, let's see, what else we got? There was discovery of channel mink theory, which in 2014, the Discovery Channel special Russian Yeti, The Killer Lives, explored the theory that the Dyatlov group was killed by a mink, otherwise known as a Russian Yeti. The show begins with the premise that the skiers' injuries were such that only a creature with superhuman strength could have caused them. The episode concluded with there being no evidence for their claims, and of course the contradictories to that being that, well, it's Yeti. That being the possibility that didn't happen.
Let's see. The last of them are the military tests. Well, this is Russia. It's the middle of the beginning of the Cold War,
middle of the Soviet reign.
Of the Soviet reign. So why not? Many people believe that the military was involved in it. They were doing parachute mines, which they were trying to develop a slowly dropping form of explosive that is short ranged. They were being tested around the area at the time. The hikers were just collateral damage, and this kind of leads us to something else. When the rescuer came back, this Pietrov was his name. Pietrov.
Which guy are you talking about?
The one who left the group.
Thought that was Dyatlov.
It could have been Dyatlov. Anyway, so he came back to help identify the bodies, and he found certain items that weren't involved with the group itself. A military type flag, some glasses, some clothing. So perhaps
and of course that would also explain the radiation.
Yeah, that would explain the radiation.
And the pass, which was actually a pretty commonly trekked area, was closed down by the military, not like a parks department or anything like that, but the actual military quarantined off that area for 3 years after the incident, and then just opened it back up.
It's like done.
Their little 3-year thing. We got our stuff done, and then just under the rug, like the Soviets were known to do.
Not just the Soviets.
Well, I know. But
we'll get into that.
They were that.
So, there's a lot of interesting things here about Dyatlov Pass. A lot of, shall we say, loose threads that have yet to be tied up.
Watch the movie Devil's Pass.
Yes. I haven't seen it, but Chapo says it's good.
Chapo does say it's good, and you know what? He's pretty accurate on.
Now, is it just kind of loosely based off of this story, or is it about?
It is okay. Basically, what they did is they took this exact story and sprinkled a little Blair Witch Project on it.
Ooh.
The original Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a found footage thing, and then they talk about, like, well, avalanche, all this, da-da-da, and then it ends up being something just completely way the hell out of left field, but they bring everything around enough to where it's like they made it work.
Now, there were some other just kind of smaller ones. There was a troop of Mansai in the area, local tribesmen. They thought that maybe that perhaps they were attacked by them. Could have just been chased by wildlife. The high winds blew one member away. The others attempted to rescue the person. They all got lost. An argument possibly took place. A romantic encounter that left some partially clothed led to a violent dispute. Other popular ones that could be aliens.
Yeah, aliens.
There were some. There actually were some lights, some unexplained lights that were seen in that area around that time. So, could it be aliens? So, I don't know. I mean, we probably never will know.
Probably never will know, because you know what? That's why it's an unsolved mystery.
See what we did there?
Yeah.
Full circle. What do you think? What's not only what are your theories? What do you think happened to these 9 hikers? But what's an unsolved mystery you'd like to see us kind of dive into next? Put it down in the comments below.
Keep following us across our social media platforms: the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I got it right today.
No, right? Yeah, you got it in order. Continue to comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe.
Yes, please subscribe. And do you notice what he's wearing? That's a good-looking shirt he's got there.
Beautiful shirt. Especially the blue pops.
Where can you get one of those?
You can get one of those right there on our Facebook page. Now, these come in pretty much a vast array, a plethora, a menagerie of color, if you like. That's color of the shirt and color of the text. Just send us a private message to the Facebook page letting us know what colors you would like, what size of shirt. $20 for a short sleeve shirt, $22 for a long. Go ahead and pick up one of our hoodies for $25.
That's right. Tomorrow is our favorite day of the week.
Indeed it is.
So don't miss out on that one.
We'll see you then.
My name is Dee from the show. This is a TIE Fighter, and this is your Russian clip of the day.
Hey guys, thanks for watching that video. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and if you liked what you see, go ahead and click on our faces to go ahead and subscribe to get all of our Monday through Friday stuff.
Indeed, and here's a couple of links down below that you can follow to watch more shows like it. Tons of great content right here at Scallywag Productions. We'll see you tomorrow.